Welcome to the video walkthrough of the Keestrack R3e. My name's Bert from Equip2, and we're going to do a walkthrough today on how this machine can help you in your operation. So we're here at the control panel. This is where everything is operated from. So nice and simple system, very much the same as all the Keestracks. Once the ignition's on, we reset the e-stops, and then the machine's ready to start the engine and use its functionalities. So we can operate our auxiliaries button from here, or we can operate the whole machine. So it could either be operated off here or entirely off the remote. So with all Keestracks comes with a remote control, and we can auto start the machine. So we can be sitting in an excavator or a loader, press auto start, the whole thing starts up in sequence. And through this, we can adjust our feeder speed. We can adjust our MPC, which is our main belt speed, and also lift our magnet up and down and the entry to our crusher. So why we have that on the remote is some impact is when material gets caught up behind the apron, we can actually open it up and free that material out. Now, a little bit around this machine being electric, so it's a kind of a hybrid, so you can either run it off the generator that's on board, so we've got a Cummins engine running a genset, or we can plug it in from the mains. So we'll go into depth in that through this video later on. With the operation of these machines, Keestrack's made it very nice and easy. So there's not too much for the operator that needs to go into here and fill with all the diagnostics and all that kind of stuff. So for the feeder is controlled by the engine loading and the impactor loading. So we can set the parameters inside here, or the operator can, depending on how hard he wants to run the crusher. So for a limestone, you want the feeder not to feed it in too fast because lime's easy to crush. When it comes to like greyacke or river stones, we want that crusher to work a bit harder, but then at the same time holding that feeder back a little bit more as well. So in terms of running the plant, it's very nice and simple for the operators. Once it's set up, everything is just done off this remote control. On the auxiliary side, you can see here the controls are all nice and neat and close together. So for unfolding our conveyors, lowering our screen box, and it's nice and easy and safe away from any moving parts. One thing that we find with the Keestrack machines, Kees Hergendorn was a fitter or a technician himself, so he knows what it's like to work on a piece of equipment. So in terms of access and heavy duty things, you look at these handles, how heavy duty it is, make it nice and easy. We've got the closers and we've got gas struts to keep the door open. So for our radiators, you can see the cords are nice and open, easy to water blast out in terms of dust buildup, etc. And then the fans also reverse the other way. You can see up here, this is our oil cooler, and that also is easy accessible for any maintenance, and our exhaust, doing our flashings for our feeders, nice and accessible, and obviously things like our filter. So we come through and go into the back of our engine bay. See, once again, excellent access. We've got our auto greaser here, which has got a speed filler. And then our filters, which is nice and easy to access for our maintenance team. The other thing you'll notice with the Keestracks as well is a lot of steel piping, and that runs right through the machine. Obviously this one's an electric machine, so there's not so many hydraulics, but it just means that it dissipates the heat a lot faster than our standard rubber hosing. So now we're getting the access to the left side of the machine. You can see up in here, we've got our full electrical control panel, and then our massive genset, an electric motor which is driving our hydraulic auxiliaries. So even though this machine's electric, it runs a hydraulic pump to enable our conveyors to open up, etc. And also to track the machine along. So you can see through here our key system. So the way this works is you take the A key from the panel and we place it into the B key, B section, and that means we can take a B key away, and that is our safety system to go and then open up the crusher box. Eliminates any electrical stuff around the crusher box where there's risk of impact or shock eroding those wires. So in through here you can see our massive cables. Now that's going from a cabinet to the genset In the likelihood of a quarry that's got power on site, which we have at one operation here in New Zealand, they can run this directly from here to the mains power, and then you've got nothing running inside here apart from your componentry. So no engine noise, the noise is gone, and we're getting the benefit of low cost running off the grid. One thing that you can see where Keestrack puts a lot of detail into, you can see here we've got a small filter housing, and that's a little air pump that's pressurizing this control cabinet. So when you pressurize a control cabinet, that means that the dust isn't able to get in because it's got positive energy there. So we'll just put our B key in there and take the safety lock off. This enables us to access the flywheel of the crusher. So you can see here, this is a direct drive. So we've got an electric motor with a tension pulley going direct drive onto the main pulley. And this means that we're getting the most energy transferred rather than going through like a hydraulic motor then to the flywheel. This is a lot more direct power to the crushing chamber, and that's the most important part of a crusher. So coming through now, this is our returns belt. This is also speed adjustable. As we know, with stones on a belt that's running fast, gets a lot of rollback. So we just want to speed this up just enough to carry the stones back to our crushing chamber. So here, this is what we call our transfer belt. And you can see Keestrack's got these high quality scrapers doing an excellent job of keeping these clean. Moving through now to the after screen, this one here has been specified with a double deck. So there's no other machines on the market in this size that actually has a double deck screen box. So this enables us to pull off a mid-fraction product and also our mains product, which will be off the main belt, and then our returns then going back to the crusher as well. So through here you can see our mid-fraction belt, and in transport mode that just folds back and sits up on this ledge here, which obviously our screen box will be down in transport position. So you can see we've got a double deck screen box. The top deck is side tension, then our bottom deck is end tension, and giving us an excellent stacking height. You can see that's 2.4 to the top of my hand. So we've got around about 3 meters stacking capacity, and the same for our side discharge. Now through here you can see our electric drive motors. That's all internal of the drum, and so maintenance free and long lasting drums. So from here you can see we've lowered our screen box down now for our screen mesh changes. You can see this is our adjuster for the bottom deck. So nice and simple, this is a typical Keestrack system with the spring washers on there, and the main tension is just on a slider. So I'm just sitting now on the top deck. So the top deck is a side tension system, and the deck size is 3.1 by 1.35. You can see we've still got the traditional Keestrack step deck. That means material as it comes down the deck, it then rolls over and then finishes off on the bottom part of the deck. So a fantastic system. You can see with all the Keestracks, with the likes of these side tension plates, they've got extra wear plates. And then as the material comes off, we've got our diverter chute, which gets the material and spreads the material across evenly the whole deck. So it ensures that we're utilising the maximum of our screen deck, giving us the optimum production. So we see production rates of these machines, we're seeing up to 350, even maxing at 400 tonne an hour. Now that is outside of what these machines are actually designed for. However, that's what we see in real life. Production rates, I'd normally say on a 40mm product around the 200 tonne an hour mark, and 65 around the 280, 300 tonne an hour mark. But however, this machine being electric, which we'll see in the rotor later on, that gives us a lot more horsepower. We see around about 30% increase in production, and for that smaller material, like sort of when we're producing roading chip, we're getting excellent angular shape material, and production numbers around that 120 to 140 tonne an hour. So with a plant like this with a double deck, we're able to have our chip coming off our side belt, our crusher dust coming off the end belt, and everything 20 above going back for another hit in the crusher. So we're now sitting up in the hopper. So this hopper sits around the 4 cubic metre mark for volume. As you see, it is layered with Hardox lining, which is on top of the parent material. and the parent material is actually a Domex steel, which is a 350 grade. That's one point to note for the Keestracks. All the frame of these machines is made of Domex, which gives you a better transport weight and a lot better strength. So up in the hopper here, this is a asymmetric hopper. So what it means is any material like a piece of concrete, it'll hit this side first and pull that around. And that means that you're not going to get the jam ups. You can see in other machines when they're both even both sides, you can have the opportunity of a piece of concrete coming up and blocking, whereas this helps it turn around and then feed in through the chamber. And you can see in the base here, this is replaceable with countersinks there. That's a 10mm Hardox plate, so you're not actually re-skinning a hopper, and that's where you get most of your wear, is on the bottom and in these little sides here. And then through here we've got our pre-screen, which is integrated with the feeder and bolted down. Some applications we take that out and we'll put a heavy duty screen mesh in there, and that just means that you get a little bit better open area for your pre-screening. Going through to our entry, this lid here lifts up, so in the application where you can have a piece of concrete or a big rock that lodges itself against the front, that's on hydraulic rams, so we can lift that up, letting the rest of the material fall in. And then you see here we've got 3 layers of rubbers, and that minimises any throwback and contains the dust a lot better as well. Not very easy to see from the point of the camera, but in here we've got 3 nozzles for our dust suppression, and that suppresses the entry. And then on the other side of the crusher we've got some more dust suppression, so just keeping it all encapsulated in that chamber, ensuring that we're not causing any issues with neighbours, etc. So we're just sitting inside the crusher chamber now, so this is where obviously all the work is done. The key thing that Keestrack's got right in these is the weight of the rotors, and also the shape of rotor being a square rotor. We have got a dedicated video on this. However, in short, the way it works is because our rotor's square, we've got all that extra room in front of the blow bar. You can see our blow bar is actually stepped back from the center of the rotor as well. So if we just roll this back slightly, you can see when the material comes down through the feeder, which is aimed directly for the shaft center, our material is able to be hit directly at the face of the blow bar. What this means is that you're not essentially grinding, you're actually impacting the rock and hitting it point blank, and it sends the material up on a 45, which nearly hits our first apron. The results that we have seen out of this special design is the material is a lot higher production, and we're also getting better shape index and better wear life because you're not actually grinding the bar, you're actually impacting at the face. In terms of changing these blow bars, these weigh about 250 kgs, and nice and simple, we remove 2 bolts out the back, which has got 2 shafts that go in through to the blow bar holders, and that bar then slides out. We turn it around and slide it back in. We've also got a video on these that our tech team have done, so just Google how to change a blow bar on a Keestrack and that'll explain that nice and simply. So on the entry, we talked earlier about the chains. You can see these heavy duty chains, and then these some side blocks. So these are diverter blocks, and that diverts the material more to the center and just stops the bars wearing from the corners so much. You're also seeing here on the entry, there's a massive bar in here which wears out, so that's because we have our attrition from our bars and the material entering in, and that is able to be pulled out sideways and then turned over and reused on the other side. It means that we're not replacing a corner plate or 2 Hardox plates where you wear out that little corner. We've actually got solid steel bar through there. And moving through to our impact aprons, so this is set up with a dual apron. You'll see many machines have got one singular. Keestrack have designed theirs with 2, and we've seen the benefits of this system. So you can see the primary apron and our secondary apron, and these are obviously all interchangeable. You can flip these around and bolt it back through with cap screws. And at the behind these aprons, particularly the top one, you can actually get in behind the crusher chamber to access those for maintenance. Down in the bottom here, you can see we've got our, we call this a belt saving plate. So once the material's been crushed, it hits this plate and then falls onto the belt, minimizing our belt wear. We can take this out. You can see this is actually reasonably loose. So that can be lifted out and swapped out for another one once we get a little bit of wear. We can also fit in here a third impact wall in here, which is we'll call like a grinding path. And that's mainly designed for applications where you're crushing glass or asphalt. So that's a few things that we've touched on the Keestrack R3e. There's many pointers that makes a Keestrack a Keestrack. However, these things add up and they make a difference to the way it works in your operation. So if you've got any questions, Google those questions, because we've done many videos which we call how-to videos, or feel free to call the team here at Equip2.